Okay, thank you all for coming out this dreary afternoon. This is the state-required annual Joint Review Board meeting for the village's 3 tax increment financing districts. This is the last time I'll say tax increment financing. It's known as TIF, is much easier to say. So this is the annual report, and we're going to call the meeting to order now for our 3 TIF districts. And a lot of times I would say this after the introductions, but you all know Bartlett spans 3 counties. We have 3 TIFs. One of them spans 2 counties, Cook and DuPage. One of them is Kane County only, and one is Cook County only. And I know there's people sitting up there with various taxing districts, and some don't cover all of them. So the way we operate here, for some of the newcomers who've joined us for the first time today, as well as a reminder for people who've sat here 15, 20 times, we just have everybody sit there and kindly ask you to sit out, so to speak, if we're discussing a TIF that's not in your county. So anyhow, meeting's called to order. I'm going to ask everybody to turn their microphone on, at least when you're speaking. We record this meeting for posterity to verify that we've held it. And why don't we start with somebody who's been here for a lot of TIF meetings over the year, Ms. Fletcher.
Are you looking at me?
I am.
Okay, I'm the longest serving member here. My name is Rita Fletcher. I'm the executive director and I'm with Bartlett Park District. Welcome to you new people.
And my name is Carolyn Nance, and I'm the director of the Bartlett Public Library District.
My name is Jessica Infelice, and I am DuPage County's Zoning Administration Coordinator.
Hello, I'm Bill Gabrenia, Fire Chief of the Bartlett Fire Protection District.
Good afternoon. James Barr, Hanover Township Administrator.
Ryan Mraz, Village Attorney.
Dale Burnage, I'm the Finance Director with School District U46.
And Roberta Grill, Planning and Development Director with the Village of Bartlett.
Didn't even introduce myself. Tony Fradin, Economic Development Coordinator for the village.
And I'm Matt Coulter, the Assistant Finance Director for the village.
So the next order of business, which I will just read the name and then leave it to you folks, is to elect a chairperson for this joint review board.
Just make a nomination.
I'll make a nomination to nominate James Barr to lead this meeting.
I'll second that nomination.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
None.
You never sit by the attorney because you get that.
All right, well, I'll pick it up and carry forth here. We need next to have a confirmation of a public member. Do we have a public member?
Yes, we have asked Mary Smith if she would be so kind as to attend today's meeting.
Very good. Can we have a nomination for Mary Smith?
I will nominate Mary Smith as the citizen member.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Welcome aboard. Come on down.
Congratulations.
Tony, I think we're back to you then with item 5, the village financial report.
Mayor, turn it over to Matt Coulter.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Good afternoon, everyone. So I will be going over our fiscal year 2021 financial activity. Our fiscal year ends April 30th, and we just recently wrapped up our audit with the auditing firm Lauterbach and Amon. So I'm going to be throwing a lot of numbers at you, so hopefully I won't put you all to sleep here, but I'll do my best. So Brewster Creek TIF is made up of a project fund and a municipal fund. At year-end, total expenditures for both funds exceeded total revenues by $4,015. therefore reducing the combined fund balance by that amount to $4,981,570. Total revenues in the project fund were $9,210,064 and $848,658 in the municipal fund. The majority of the revenues come from property taxes, which totaled $6,763,418. This is an increase of 10% from the prior year. 87.5% of the property taxes go into the project fund, and the remaining 12.5% go to the municipal fund. The remaining revenues for fiscal year '21 were a $3,274,701 of developer note proceeds, $5,318 of interest, and $15,285 in sales tax. Now for the expenditures in the project fund totaled $9,403,313 and $659,424 in the municipal fund. The TIF bond payments for principal and interest accounted for 40% of all expenditures, totaling $4,051,360. Developer note payments for principal and interest totaled $2,127,253 in fiscal year '21. The remaining project fund expenditures were for capital outlay, which consisted of $71,400 for water and sewer main work, $91,050 for wetland mitigation, $509,150 for roadways, $2,509,853 for earthwork, and $43,247 for site amenities. The expenditures of $659,424 in the municipal fund were for professional services, and that's for things such as marketing, plan review fees, inspections, and police patrol. Now for the debt service. At the end of fiscal year '21, the TIF bonds had a balance of $12,820,000. The 2000 TIF bonds had a balance of $5,640,000, and the last payment will be January 1st, 2023. The 2016 TIF bonds had a balance of $7,180,000, and the final payment for those will be on January 1st, 2024. Developer notes had a balance of $4,106,702. And in this July 2020, the budget was amended to approve another developer note for up to $3 million to complete the remaining improvements in the TIF. Now for the EAV of the TIF. The 2020 DuPage County EAV is $80,400,040, which is up $5,635,220 from 2019. The base EAV is $1,809,396. So the total EAV increment in DuPage is $78,590,644. And the total property tax increment that the TIF will receive is $7,105,066. And now with a few buildings being built in Cook, the Cook EAV is starting to go up. So the 2020 Cook EAV is $4,732,019, which is up $3,744,612 from 2019. The base EAV is $1,266,078. So for the first time, there is going to be EAV increment in the Cook County portion of $3,465,941, an incremental property tax of $394,216. So the combined EAV for Brewster Creek TIF District is up to $85,132,059. And as we do every year, the village does submit the annual report for the Brewster Creek TIF and the other two TIFs as well to the Illinois Comptroller. We did this just the other day, October 26th. So once they give that the approval, that should be available on the website. And that's it for the financials for Brewster Creek, unless there's any questions.
Any questions?
I got a quick question on the TIF. So the TIF the inception was July of 1989. So does that mean in July of next year is when the TIF, I know it goes to the end of the year for tax purpose, but does it end on July of 2022 when talking about expenditures?
It does.
It does?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're under the understanding that the 2022 levy, which is collected in '23, will still go to the TIF.
Correct.
23 levy collected in '24 will go to the districts.
Yes, that's my understanding. But as far as expenditures go for any work that's being done out there, July of this next year, that work has to be completed, my understanding. In other words, somebody can't submit something in September, October of next year for work that needs to be done after the TIF expired, correct?
The completion date in the original plan was June 1, 2022.
Okay, June 1st of 2022.
But the 23rd year takes you to December 31st, and then the 24th year of collecting, as you just stated. So
Yes, yeah. So my understanding from the tax perspective, yes, it goes to the end of the year of 2022. All those taxes in 2023, because it's a year behind, go to the TIF, and it's actually the 2024 is when we would see it as a,
correct.
That is our understanding, yes.
yep, okay. So for us that need to increase our levy for that purpose, we would be doing that, end of 2022, so. What? Yep. 2022 or 2023? 2022. You would have to do it for 2023. So at the end, so December of 2022 is when you would want to account for that increase, so. Yep, okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? All right, that's an important one. Do we need to take a vote at this time to accept that? Sorry.
I thought of one other question. So if there's additional monies is there any chance we would get additional monies paid out? Like with the last time a TIF ended, there was extra money and then we were sent a check for that?
Yeah, if there is a fund balance after everything's been paid out, I believe that gets sent back to the county, and then they distribute it to the districts.
When would that happen? Would that happen at the end of 2022 if all the payments have been made?
I think you have a year after the TIF expires to pay for the expenditures before any money goes back to the county to be dispersed.
Right, and Mr. Mraz has pointed out at previous joint review boards that some extra is held in the situation of most of the companies out there
Tax
appealing their
objections,
taxes.
as you know how backed up they are in Cook County, so we hold some money for that. But basically, there's a refund pro rata based on your respective tax rates, and we do an estimate when we get to the end and tell you what would be held back. And then when that period expires, you receive, what's left of that pro rata as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're aware as some of the districts here have not received any funding whatsoever from county, state, or federal when it comes to COVID. This couldn't come any sooner, and so it's very exciting for some of us, and again, I got to thank Bartlett because that's a very good TIF that's out there.
It is. And in terms of the question, typically, at these meetings, we do the financial report, then the development report, and then vote on accepting each one together. And we do it for all three since it's separate people representing the different taxing bodies.
Very good. Any other questions on this TIF? Anybody? All right, then I think we can proceed on to the next.
So, Tony, were you saying they should vote on each report separately because we
No,
have different people?
Once Matt and I both present our reports at the end of the TIF, we like to get those
we'll
reports accepted, so.
Vote on Matt's report that he just gave, and then
Plus my
their
development
economic
report.
status for
Right.
each one, because they've got different voters. We have to break the votes down separately for each tip, but you'll combine those two in one motion. is what you're
Correct.
saying. Thank you.
Yeah. So I get to do the development status report. Brewster Creek is always a fun one to present. It has been for quite a few years. The vast majority of the economic activity in the village has been in Brewster Creek Business Park, even through the Great Recession 10 years ago. There were still new buildings going up there. So for the past 20 years, really, the greatest amount of capital invested and jobs created in Bartlett has been in Brewster Creek Business Park. And as one of the members just alluded to, one of the best practice examples of how a TIF is supposed to work. So as of now, there are 48 completed buildings in the business park totaling over 5 million square feet. I've presented that number of around 75 businesses for the past few years. The reason being is that quite a few of those buildings are condominium units, and I'm not going to say they turn over frequently, but they do turn over more frequently than some of these large build-to-suit type of situations where some of them have been there for decades already. So the number's in the high 70s in terms of businesses there, and also thousands of employees. There's businesses in the business park that only include a handful of people. Some small contractors' offices, places like Park Avenue, Day Camp, and then there's businesses that have 300 or 400 people, like some of the big food companies. So the number of employees at the business park is now, the best approximation I could come up with was probably between 4,000 and 5,000. It's highlighted by the food cluster, including Rana, Greco and Sons, Cheese Merchants, Get Fresh Produce, Brolite. We've got a strong automotive cluster in the business park, including some businesses like Midwest Molding, Bremskirl, Win Here Brakes, Camcraft, and Auto Truck. And we've also, the third cluster is for high-tech, German-based high-tech precision manufacturing like Herman Ultrasonics, Wittenstein, and BBS Automation. So this is the one TIF out of the three that includes everybody sitting up there. It spans Cook and DuPage. For many years here, I just talked about the DuPage County portion, and Cook will start developing someday. The DuPage County portion, let me comment on, it isn't completely built out. Last few years, again, I'm going to estimate 75, maybe closer to 80% built out. What really remains right now in the DuPage portion is what we would basically refer to as infill type of development. There's a 5-acre lot here, a 6-acre lot here. There's the largest amount of land is on the eastern portion of the park, along the ComEd easement, and those aren't exactly all subdivided yet, so those lots could be, there could still be some buildings maybe approaching the 100,000 square foot size in the business park, but that's about the biggest you might see, and that's not even highly likely. So the DuPage County portion is largely built out, and as I mentioned, there's a few infill sites around Hart Circle and on the east side of Humbrecht. As Matt just reported, the real big news in Brewster Creek Business Park since we last sat here a year ago talking about how McKesson was just recently approved in starting their building. We had just talked about Connor Globe going through the approval process for their speculative building. Well, what I do have a picture here for earlier today. McKesson has spent the last year building out their facility, and it's just, it looks, I think it just went operational within the last week or two. They went on a big hiring spree last month, and so their 400,000 square foot building, which held the title of largest building in the village for about a minute, is up and running. And really that accounts for pretty much all of the increasing EAV that Matt just alluded to in the Cook County portion. But as I mentioned, there's an even bigger building now, the Connor Globe building that had recently been approved a year ago is nearing completion now. This building is 436,000 square foot. It was a speculative building. In other words, this developer invested roughly $40 million in the building without a tenant in place. But as you all know, the Brewster Creek is really strong, the industrial market's strong. They had a great deal of confidence in the site, and they should. They have signed a lease for the entire building. We've been working pretty closely for a number of months with both the owner/developer of the building as well as their brokers. Got close with a few prospects that didn't quite work out due to various issues, but there's a company that recently signed. I can't get into too much detail quite yet, but next year we'll be talking about it like we've known them for a year. So they're pretty close to coming in there. So that's pretty exciting on the Cook County side. And speaking of Connor Globe commercial, they hold the option for what is the very last remaining large-scale Cook County site. There's one more site that could accommodate a building of that nature, 400,000-ish square feet. I'm not sitting here saying they're about to do a building like that, but that is their intention. So I would hope by next year we could talk about the third and final large building in the Cook County portion. So my next little bullet point I did is a big one, with Matt having gone over the dramatic increase in equalized assessed value in Brewster Creek Business Park. I did this last year and again dug out the EAVs, the total EAVs, going back to 2016 when it was 48.5 million. And I remember telling everybody we expect it to go over 50 the next year, and it did. A few years later, in 2018, it hit 58.8, and we said we thought it would go over 60 pretty soon, which it did. 2020, just last year here, was the first year it hit over 70. So here we are at 85 million. Once some of these infill projects in DuPage get completed, once Connor Globe's building is occupied and assessed, I mean, I'd like to say 100 million, but who knows? Let's say it should be over 90. Play it safe. But anyhow, you can see that it's come a long way from a gravel quarry in the last 20 years. We love Brewster Creek. We get all kinds of inquiries on it all the time. And one of my next reports about one of the other business parks, we're running out of space over there. So it should be wrapped up, as Matt said. The TIF will wrap up at the end of next year with expenditures and increment coming in through 2023, and then it should be basically done. I suppose there could be more infill projects that go beyond the life of the TIF, but I do want to mention, prior to last year's meeting, the original owner of all the land, Elmhurst Chicago Stone Company, had essentially refinanced and issued some additional bonds, anticipating, it was, by my recollection, about $14 million, and that's all being utilized to do all the, I'm going to call it finishing touches on getting the land prepared for when the TIF's over, so people can still come in and buy land, and it's been graded and the water and sewers there and all the infrastructure. So there was a lot of talking about Brewster Creek TIF on the development side, but we're very proud of it. It's a very extremely successful TIF, and I'll answer any questions I can that you may have about the development side of it.
Very good questions, Bill.
Yeah, so do you see a lot of growth in the next 8 months before the TIF would expire?
I'm sorry, do I see a growth in what before it expires?
So if the TIF is set to expire, do you anticipate growth in the next 8 months for those sites that are left over to try to get in before?
Most likely not a tremendous
Okay.
amount of growth. I think in terms of EAV, which you know, is a high priority for the taxing districts, I see growth in the EAV because there's, Roberta would know the exact details, but there was, I think, a 25,000 square foot small building built for like a distribution firm in the business park. And also we would expect Connor Globe's building to go onto the tax rolls. I think it would be unrealistic to expect Connor Globe to get their final building approved and built within the next 8 months. They haven't even submitted anything. So, you know, most of the growth will be in the buildings that I think are underway right now that haven't been fully assessed.
Okay, so if you're Connor Globe, you're not trying to get something done before the TIF expires? That doesn't really...
No, not so much. They're not so concerned with TIF. They have to pay their property tax bill as if it
Matter
wasn't
what.
a TIF.
Yeah, it's just the earthwork I was thinking, I guess, but...
Yeah. Their focus would be to get another building up as quickly as they could and, you know, create their own. One of the things I didn't talk about a lot today is the last several developers. We've had 4 institutional developers come into the business park. For the first many years, it was kind of smaller build to suit local businesses, but then we started getting developers like Exeter Property Group, Ridge Development, Logistics Property Group, Connor Globe, the kind of developers that develop $1 billion worth of real estate in a year, you know, throughout the country and the world. So their primary focus is they're not thinking about TIFs too much, besides if they can get a TIF incentive. Yeah.
Very good. Other questions? Rita?
Thanks, not a question, just a statement. I'd like to congratulate you, Tony, and everybody involved from the village for a great job on this TIF. You guys really knocked it out of the park. Good job.
Thank you. That's kind of you to say.
Any other questions?
I can just make a statement too, Rita. We do have a lot of people calling the village, still wanting to develop. It just, to answer your question, is probably just not going to make it to the end of, the EAV for it to count in time. Elmhurst Chicago Stone would love that, but it's just not going to happen. I don't know if you noticed, but some of the money that they, what was it, Tony, they wanted to reassess?
Right.
Went to, I don't know if you've noticed the ready-mix plant. They've taken it down. There was asbestos associated with that. They're grading it. It was a lot of work, and they've used some of that money, invested that in there so that last lot could be developed as well. So we've been waiting a long time for that to happen.
Very good. Any other questions? I'll just close by kind of echoing what Rita said. As somebody that in earlier portions of my life studied TIF districts extensively, this has got to be the textbook example of a successful TIF district, probably for the state, if not the region, the whole Midwest. I mean, it's really come a long, long way and really, I think brought to life what TIF was really intended for. Sometimes there's other examples in other areas of the state where, they have a mixed experience, but this has been really, really well done.
And thank you. We all agree. And I should also throw in there that the original president, we work very closely with Elmhurst Chicago Stone, and the brokers who are out there. I just want to mention Mr. Lehner, the late Ken Lehner, was an incredible deal maker. And a lot of times when some of these projects got kind of dicey, even some of the ones that we've come to take for granted, like Greco and Midwest Molding, he was able to, over a lunch with them, come to an agreement on the land. He was very motivated to get the TIF up and running. And, you know, from my experiences with him, he would rather strike a good deal than to hold out an extra year or two to sell land to somebody. So he's passed away, I think, a few years ago, but a lot of credit goes to Mr. Lehner for a lot of the deals that he made.
Very good, thank you. Shall we proceed to a vote on the Brewster Creek TIF?
We should. I can call the roll. Ms.
Need a motion.
Infelice?
We need a motion.
Or, I'm sorry, a motion first.
We have a
That's
motion to
embarrassing.
accept the Brewster Creek TIF report?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded? All right, there we go. Moved by Carolyn with the Library District and seconded by Rita with the Park District.
Thanks, I didn't catch that. Okay, now I'll take roll. Ms. Infelice?
Aye.
Ms. Grill?
Yes.
Ms. Nance?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Burnage?
Yes.
Mr. Gabrania?
Yes.
Ms. Fletcher?
Yes.
And Public Member Mary Smith?
Yes.
Move on.
All right, then do we proceed on to the next one being the Bluff City? Am I jumping ahead?
I had put Bluff City on my report, but we had 59 in Lake on the agenda next.
Okay, very good. So 59 in Lake it is.
Yep.
Okay, so 59 in Lake financials for fiscal year '21. The fund balance remained at $0. Revenues for the year consisted of a transfer in from the village's developer deposits fund in the amount of $73,719. This transfer was to cover the expenditures for the year. There were $47,296 worth of site preparation costs for the year that got charged to contingencies. So of this amount, $37,946 was for the demolition of the old Cruise America building, $4,600 for water supply well abandonment, $2,200 for septic tank and underground piping removal, $950 to remove contaminated soil, $1,150 to remove contaminated concrete, and $450 to remove a reservoir from the ground. The remaining expenditures consisted of $1,750 of engineering and an interest payment of $24,673 to the developer deposits fund. When the TIF was created, the village loaned the TIF $2,814,078 from other funds. The advanced funds were used to purchase the land and for professional services related to the creation of the TIF. At fiscal year '21 year end, the balance of the loan was $3,702,059. As far as the EAV, the 2020 EAV for 59 in Lake is $1,357,886, which is up $143,462 from 2019. The base EAV for this TIF district is $1,546,139. So at this time, there is still no property tax increment. And that is it for 59 in Lake, unless there's any questions.
Questions on the financials for this TIF? Anybody? Okay, doesn't appear to be any, so I think we can proceed on to the development side.
Thank you. So as Matt just mentioned, with the EAV lower than it had originally been set at, is a testament to my development report, which I sometimes call lack of development report for that particular TIF. So it remains undeveloped. For the past few years here, I was reporting how the village had been meeting with and working in conjunction with a developer who had intended to build plus or minus 200 high-end luxury apartments at that site, 5-story buildings with clubhouse and pool and all the amenities anybody could ever hope for in that area. The very long story short, because we did work with them extensively for quite a while, was that the village no longer has a contract with him on the village-owned property that Matt just alluded to. There are a lot of reasons, one of them being that he never submitted development plans to the village within the timeline we had specified. We had extended his agreement, I think, on 3 occasions, while it was our understanding he was seeking financing, which got more and more difficult as commodity prices fluctuated and as the amount of equity required was increasing. So unfortunately, I am reporting that that project is no longer something that we're considering. Also, as Matt alluded to, one of the expenditures, one of the minor improvements made to the area is the village taking down the RV dealership over there, which we actually did in anticipation of attracting some development to the site. It's not all 100% bleak. There is some interest in the site currently. We always have it listed. We utilize a broker from Sperry Van Ness. We do get inquiries on it. Quite a few of the inquiries are things that are incompatible type of land uses, so they're not all good inquiries, but we still do get some interest in it. There's a developer now who's doing some due diligence on the site. A lot of the potential developments, or I should really say all the potential developments, with the exclusion of this apartment developer, seek adjoining properties as well, so beyond the village. So it entails, it can be kind of a complicated development scenario there, and that's what's happening right now is the potential developer is looking at and negotiating some other parcels that are not controlled by the village in the area. So I'm not going to say that that TIF won't get developed before, or at least get some development started before the conclusion of the TIF, but there's nothing really solid right now. This TIF was adopted in 2004. I should also mention that having done this joint review board for 17 years, we spent a solid 10 years at least seeking shopping centers only and retailers only. We had gone in under contract even and worked with, I think, 3 different shopping center developers on this site, none of which came to fruition. So also I want to point that out is that the village really wasn't looking for apartments or residential development of that area for quite a few years, and only would, start looking at that as a potential use maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So it had been put under contract with various property owners over the years. None of them were able to proceed for various reasons, mainly trying to get anchor tenants to commit to the site before they did anything. Nobody was going to build anything on spec there like they do over in the business park. The significant challenges to that site remain just the same today as we sit here as they did in 2004 when we adopted the TIF. There's significant wetlands on the site. So even though we talk about a 49-acre TIF, you've got 15 plus acres probably within that aren't usable for wetlands on the site. There's multiple property owners there, as I alluded to, the village just being one of them. Access to the site has been challenging. A lot of the developers we've looked at or met with were trying to lay out their projects so there would just be that one access site from Horizon that would be basically a right in and a right out. And you can't attract any type of development that you want to a site just with a right in, right out on a kind of a small access road. And also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the sites in Cook County and some of the, I've had numerous meetings where people started calculating what their property taxes might be. And to be real frank about it, that's basically convinced some developers not to move forward on that site. So it's got quite a few challenges on it. It's not fun to sit here every year and say nothing's happening over there. But, you know, as I mentioned, there's still somebody that we have that we're meeting with and communicating with periodically on the site. So might have something positive to report here next year. I always hope so. And if there's any questions on the development side, I'll answer them as I can.
Rita?
Yeah, so if you get nobody, will you continue it on for the next 6 years with just the dream, or will the village think about just doing something different with and use the property themselves? Have any of that questions been talked about?
Yeah, that particular one hasn't really been flushed out fully. Because the debt on the site that Matt had reported on would make it difficult to close it out early or something like that. I suppose that would be kind of a last resort type of proposition, you know, but, you know, even if the village just still owned the land and the TIF was over with years from now, you know, we would still entertain development scenarios on it. Just without a TIF, wouldn't be able to reimburse any on-site or off-site costs. That would make it that much harder. Yeah, you're welcome.
Very good. Other questions? Anybody else? All right. See no additional questions. I think we can proceed to a vote on the 59 TIF.
Motion to approve of the financial reports of the,
Is there a motion to approve and accept the report on the Route 59 and Lake Street TIF?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the report. Roll call.
Okay, 7 of the 8 Joint Review Board members on this one. Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Burnage?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Gabrania?
Yes.
Ms. Fletcher?
Yes.
Ms. Nance?
Yes.
And Ms. Grill?
Yes.
Thank you. That report will go on to the record.
All right, motion passes, and we move on to the third and final TIF, the Bluff City TIF.
Okay, so Bluff City financials, fiscal year '21. Bluff City TIF is made up of a project fund and a municipal fund. At fiscal '21 year end, total revenues for both funds exceeded total expenditures by $36,196, therefore increasing their combined fund balance from $89,835 to $126,031. Bluff City TIF revenue consisted of property tax and interest earned. Property tax revenue for the year totaled $584,740, which is up $87,752, or 17.6% from the prior year. 94% of the property taxes go to the project fund and 6% to the municipal fund. The remaining revenue consisted of $1,124 in interest. Expenditures for fiscal year '21 totaled $549,668, which was the payment for the developer note interest. No principal payments have been made and won't be until there is enough incremental property tax revenue, so the outstanding balance of the 2009 developer note remains at $9,179,010. There were no other expenditures in fiscal year '21. The 2020 total EAV for the district is $8,118,984, which is up $792,323 from 2019. The base EAV is $1,362,941, leaving $6,756,043 as EAV TIF increment. And that's all I have for Bluff City, unless there's any questions.
Questions on the Bluff City TIF financials? Does not appear to be any at this time. If you want to proceed over to the development side.
Thank you. Bluff City, there's, by the way, 4 of the taxing districts, I'm sorry, 3 taxing districts and public member are represented in the Bluff City TIF. And this one was adopted, I did a little research this right before the meeting, my old Bluff City file, which I coordinated all the paperwork and hearings, and some of you were here when we adopted it in March of 2009. Bluff City, that whole area qualified automatically as a TIF because former quarries, mines, and strip mine ponds, that alone being a former quarry makes it eligible by the state TIF statute to be adopted as a TIF for redevelopment purposes. Following that, I spent quite a few years talking about grading and infrastructure and bonds and a traffic light and roads and all that, promising that there was development on the way in a few years. So that started probably about 4 or 5 years ago when the 2 largest sign companies in the state, TSI and TCP, just happened to both decide to locate right here in Bartlett on the west side of town in Kane County. Traffic Services Incorporated and Traffic Control and Protection. You're all longtime Chicago area people, so I never really noticed their signs and trucks until I worked with both companies, and now every single place I walk or drive, I either see a TSI sign or a TCP sign. Was in Chicago over the weekend, and there was some construction going on, and I saw TCP signs all up and down the street, so everybody knows them. Elgin Beverage, which did not want to change their name to Bartlett Beverage because they'd been in business for about 80 years, and they're very well known. They're located over there in the Blue Heron Business Park as well. We've got Parkland Preparatory Academy, that's a mouthful, built a building there that was finished about this time last year. And one of the things I always talk about, the Bluff City area, which the business parks are called the Blue Heron Business Park and the Southwind Business Park, it allows for some heavier, more intensive land uses. So if somebody wants to do some outdoor storage, that kind of thing, they can do it over there. Some of the uses that, over the years, that originally came into the village with their broker looking at a Brewster Creek site ended up being steered in that direction. So in terms of new development since last year, there's 2 significant projects which are gonna both contribute to this rising EAV that Matt just told you about. One of them is a landscaping company called Great Lakes Landscaping Company. They've completed a 35,000 square foot facility on Miles Parkway. I don't know if that one's fully assessed yet or not, but that one was just recently completed and includes a lot of land area, as you might suspect, being a landscaping company for outdoor storage. A big project that gained a lot of press and went through the entire approval process through the Plan Commission and the Zoning Board and the Village Board was True North. And this is a pretty exciting project, 5,000 square foot convenience store with the village's first truck stop. This is getting built at the southeast corner of Route 25 and West Bartlett Road. It's on a 3.2 acre site. If you're looking at the report that I wrote up this morning, and that's a picture that I took at about 10 o'clock, kind of a gray, gloomy day, but the building's looking fantastic. And I wouldn't normally gush on about a diesel fuel stop, but what I think is the more important aspect of it is the an equally important aspect of it is the convenience store aspect of it. So the Village residents and South Elgin residents as well who live west of the railroad tracks, if they want to go somewhere late at night to get some milk, buy some bread, a pack of chewing gum or whatever, don't have to drive, to the Jewel or some grocery store or some other retailer. It's something that'll be right there, open 24/7. And, a 5,000 square foot convenience store with some hot food and, all kinds of SKUs there that they'll be selling. So that's pretty exciting. That'll make a nice bump in the EAV when we sit here next year, once the building's completed and fully assessed. I also want to mention that that site and the True North building their project, as well as working real closely. It's another landowner that we work very closely with, Abbott Land and Investment Company. They have another site directly contiguous to it. Let's see if I wrote down the acreage here. Yeah, there's a 3.1 acre site due east of the True North project. That's also designated as part of the commercial aspect of this TIF. And there is at least one that we've met with. I think there's two retail type of developers looking at the site. And I'll answer your question. The type of retail that they're looking at, I would characterize as neighborhood convenience. Pizza shop, cleaners, whatever type of things you would see in a neighborhood strip center to help some of the locals. I think a sandwich shop as well. So I truly hope to be able to report that we have something in the works there by next year. As I said, mostly people have been looking at it. I'm not aware of anybody putting it under contract yet. It's premium land. It's not low price land out there. So we have high hopes for that whole area, and it's coming along, I think, basically as we had hoped and expected that area too. It's kind of a smaller version of Brewster Creek Business Park, much smaller version, but proceeding at the same type of pace. And again, if there's any questions for either myself or Matt, we'd be happy to answer.
Any questions? Any questions from JRB? Anybody? All right, can we get a motion to accept the report on the Bluff City TIF? We need it from one of the four people that are within the district, so maybe you.
So moved.
All right, very good. We got a motion. We need a second.
Second.
Second by Rita. Any discussion on acceptance of the Bluff City TIF report? Seeing none, then we'll go to a vote of just those that districts covering that TIF district.
Okay, by my count, there's four. If I miss anybody, raise your hand. Mr. Burnage?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Fletcher?
Yes.
And Ms. Grill?
Yes.
Okay, and I don't see anybody else here who I believe is within that TIF district. Great, thank you.
Okay, so that passes. All three reports have been accepted and passed. Any other business? Any other business?
Not any from the staff side.
Okay, none from staff. Anyone else from the JRB? Any other business? All right, seeing none, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, been moved. Is there a second? Second by Carolyn at the library district. All right, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adjournment, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Shockingly, the ayes have it.